Okay.
E você, a maluca da vida. E você, a minha fantasia. E você, desnorteada da briga. E você, a minha perdição.
Yes. Okay. So here we are again in this talk about spreading environmental awareness. This idea, let me tell you before we start, this idea how it came. It came due to unemployment, really, because we are unemployed. We are biologists, we are ecologists, we are naturalists, professional nature protectors. I like that name because we dedicate our lives to for the protection of nature. And while we are here in quarantine, we cannot do much to protect nature. So that's why this talk, because the nature destroyers do have a job. They do have a job. So well, and they're working harder than before. They are employed and they're working harder than before. So that's why they talk today, the part two of why should we care about forest conservation? Why should we care about forests and their diversity? Before we go in, stay tuned. We're going to talk about this, and we have awesome guests today as well. Let me start with our sponsors, Cerveza Itinerante, which is the best craft beer in all Ecuador. Yeah, so if you're in Quito, you're in luck because it's delivery service. Also, Sumaco Ñawi, our own forest restoration dream project. It's a dream to restore cloud forest to regain the diversity. Um, and finally, also Shiri Puno Lodge, a remote lodge in the middle of the Amazon basin. Beautiful, working with our Amerindians, the Waorani. So if you want to contact to any of these places, just let us know. We can get you in touch of any of these sponsors that we have. So okay, without more ado, let's get it. Let's get to it. Let's get to our topic, which is why should we care about forests? And now we are lucky because we also have Daniel Hicks with us.
Hello, everybody.
There you go. We also have Harold Fernando Vaca.
Hello, people.
There you
doing?
are.
Sorry, I was silent.
Excellent. It's good to have you.
Awesome to be here.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Welcome, Daniel. Welcome, Fernando. You silenced it again. He silenced it again, yet again. But okay. So these guys that we have here, they are pro-naturalists. They are ecologists. They are biologists, naturalists, world travelers. So it's good to have them here. So in our last talk, we were mentioning about our nature services, the forest, the services that they give us for free. We don't have to pay anything for the services that the forests give us. So without further ado, do you have? We just go for it. Why? Which one are these nature services, and why should we care about?
Okay, great. So I'm happy to hit in first. I think we have a whole list of different services that we get every day in our lives from nature, and we can go for the basics. So let's think about water. I mean, this liquid that we enjoy every day, having for those that still have it, we still enjoyed it, and we have it as a granted. But nature make it the effort every day to provide it and keep it running in our lives. Then we have air. We have air too, and that's the clean air or all the air that we breathe every day. Here is also provided by nature. Food also, decomposition also, pollination, medicine, and so on. So those are one of the services that I think we have from nature every day.
All right, excellent. Yes, so we have these crucial natural service that you were that Harold is mentioning right now. This crucial water and air. Uh, where do they really come from the forest? Like how they are in their natural systems?
Okay, yeah, water, for example, we have water that runs in our systems. We have rivers, we have lakes, we have water in the air, we have water in our food, we have water everywhere. Without water, we won't be able to be here, just to make it easier and plain. And we find water in the mountains as a form of ice and so on. So water has this funny cycle that it needs a lot of different elements in order to have life as the way we know in this planet. We need to have those elements working in the same direction and the same gear and the same speed. So water is possible because of trees, because of plants, because of all these huge kingdom that we have it all around is because we have water. Thanks to water, we can have the current that makes possible the water move, that the ocean have it, that we can have all these fruits, all the food that we enjoy every day is thanks to water. So, and we are lucky in South America. We have a lot of it. We in fact we have about 40% of the fresh water that the world has it is in South America. So the countries that we are down here, we should be very wise about how we keep this resource fresh and clean as every day as possible because that is going to help in the near future all these generations. So our best interest as a region should be to protect water by all means.
Right, right. What about other services? So we have water, which we cannot live without it. So we have a good reason for the for preserving forest. Air, we need to breathe air. It's just there, and it seems like it's just pretty basic thing. But while we're destroying our forest in a fast pace, we're forbidding ourselves from these services. Maybe other things, guys, that you maybe want to talk
Now, the
about,
other
like
thing I would
other
like,
services.
the other service that I would love to kick in is air. You know, we need air. We need all the life itself here needs air. And the best interest is to keep it clean, to keep it fresh, that everyone can enjoy it and be living in here. So we need to also think about it, how we can keep clean air as a resource. So the cleaner we have our air, the better it's gonna be our plants, our production, yeah, our people, our society, if we have all these service working on the right direction. So how we can ensure that these services that we get every day from nature can be for longer time, for long periods of time. The only way we can do that is by protecting forests. Protecting the forest there is a standard today, making sure that we create interesting plants, attractive plants that everyone should get involved in protecting it. So, and also restoring areas that never have been restored, places that have been overused and cut down for planting cows or for monoculture, they need to be restored again because we need to calculate. There is a lot of open space that has been cleared out over the time that those spaces are not being used anymore. They are not used for the cows because they need less space than we thought, and the forests are not there because it was replaced by grass. So all those areas they need to be recovered with native species of plants in order to keep water running and keeping clean air to everyday life.
Excellent. Yes. Crucial. Thank you, Harold, Fernando. Yes, and this is what we do also right now with Sumaco Ñawi, with this project. This is what we're trying to also to share and to tell you that we are also doing these restoration projects, so you can tell everybody else that you know about these restoration projects, and you can also support us. Maybe Daniel, do you have in mind maybe any other natural services that we have around there?
They've obviously been mentioned, right? Obviously, the most important there, our air and our water, yes. It was mentioned just a moment ago by Harold. Food, right? We very often in so many parts of the world can't really connect anything from the forest to our food, right? We just see things appear in a supermarket. But so many of our foods that we consume daily, or also some very popular ones and costly foods, they may not be coming from the forest now. They're cultivated around the world, yes, but they originally came from the world's tropical forests. To name just a few, for example, things like avocado, citrus, banana, tomatoes, vanilla, for example, cinnamon, all of these things, they originally came from the world's tropical forests in this case, okay? So as an example, bananas, for example, they're from Southeast Asia originally. Obviously now grown in vast plantations around the world throughout the tropics. The big issue with, for example, these vast monocultures, miles and miles and miles of the same plants, and this is becoming more and more obvious every time with bananas in particular, are these diseases and plagues, for example, okay, spread through these quickly. And the resistance of these plants to these diseases is disappearing. So, although our bananas as we know them right now do not grow in the forest, the origins of those plants do still grow in the world's tropical forests. So what we have, when we have an intact tropical forest, for example, we have a genetic reserve of all of these different plants. If something happens to one of our favorite plants, for example, some of those that I just mentioned, and we lose our vast crops or plantations of those, if we have healthy forests to go back to, we can find them again. We're not going to lose them completely, okay? So if we destroy the forests, so we're destroying basically a genetic library, let's say, okay, a genetic store of all of those different plants and their relatives. That's something we have to think about, because we can't continue living as we are, and at some point we may well be depending on what's still in the forests, or if we lose those too quickly, we'll be regretting the fact that we no longer have those reserves or reservoirs, let's say, of these plants. The same applies to medicines, for example. Although so many of our medicines nowadays are, yes, made in factories, let's say, or in labs, so many originally came from the plants that are found in many of the forests around the world, okay? There are plants, for example, in the world's forests that were used to produce, for example, medicines treating cancer, childhood leukemia, Parkinson's disease, malaria, for example, different painkillers. So it's only thanks to the natural world, the forest and its diversity, that we have these particular medicines in the first place, right? Again, it's the same thing. At some point, we're going to have to be going back to this natural library or natural storeroom, let's say, which is the rainforest, looking for new or more effective medicines. It's something that we really can't do without. And if we do lose this all as or at the same rate as we are right now, we are going to regret it. We can't live without the forest and their vast diversity. So although, yes, as we've mentioned, we're all involved as such and passionate about the restoration of the natural world, restoration costs money, right? It costs quite a lot of money. The best thing that we can possibly do is protect the forest, the intact forest that we have around the world now, to actually then save us money in the long term. Obviously, in many places where the forest has already disappeared, it's been cut down, the only answer is reforestation or restoration. But if it's possible to avoid that issue from the start, even better. All right.
Right. Yes. So what you just said, you remind me of all these, the tomatoes, for example, and the malaria cure. You were just reminding me, Daniel, of we owe this to our natives, to our own indigenous people, which we can talk about that in another subject, and I will tell you why indigenous term. Just say indigenous is kind of like a racist terminology. But well, that will be another subject that we can cover, guys. Please let me tell you a little saying that I have here, guys, because of what just Daniel said. That about Kelly Swing said, we must all recognize that absolutely everything that we touch or consume came originally from a primary source in nature, right? So we must, this is excellent saying. And let me tell you guys, what about avoiding pandemics through preserving forests? This is a real thing. And people don't really realize this. While our attention are in COVID-19, this is like the main issue. Okay, we have this pandemic right here and we need to deal with this. And yes, of course. But people need to know where did this came from originally. It didn't came, now through research, we know that it didn't came from a lab. It's not that someone is trying to destroy humans or maybe to get rich through a cure or something like that. It's not that. It's due to forest destruction. Yes. What happened is in China, in the early 70s, there was a famine in China due to the government. The government put the peasants, instead of the fields, working the farm in the fields for food, they put them in the industrial activities like chopping forests, mining, etc. in that time. Yeah. So the people were trying to find food and they couldn't. So they relied on nature. They went into the wild and they started hunting wild animals for survival, of course. But then after the years, the time they started passing by, the government realized that it was a good source of food and the people are finally not starting to die due to this famine. So he did a lot of political decisions in order to support what we know now as wet markets. Okay, so wet markets are a congregation of the people, even through that time, where they bring all kinds of wildlife and put them in a place, and so it became a source of the economy. It started bringing people a lot of money as well, and that's why the government started liking it, and that's why there's wet markets right now. And just a moment more, guys. How they came from? So a lot of ecologists complain about the space that we have animals in the zoo, for example. Imagine the space that they have in a wet market, which is nothing, zero. It's just like this, yes. And not just that. There's the animal in top of another. So let's say that there's a bear in here. There's a chicken in top of the cage, in top of the bear, and in top of the bear there's a snake cage, and maybe something else on top of the snake. And this is because of the space, just to be more how do you say, more sufficient with the space. But maybe that snake that is in top of everything, or that chicken that is in top of all those animals, maybe it's bleeding, maybe it's dripping saliva, maybe it's pus, maybe it's dripping pus, and they have to do number two. They have to urinate in top of all those animals that are underneath. Okay, but and then the buyer, in this case, the Chinese person that went to buy this fresh bat and pangolin. So he bought this fresh meat, but it was in a very unhealthy situation after all these things going on here. So he went and maybe had a stew, a stew of a pangolin stew or bad ceviche, boom, but coronavirus, COVID-19, just because humans went into the forest, chopping forests, doing these horrible things to nature. We got this virus right now because we just broke down this system. Yes, we just broke down the system that it was taking care of us, avoiding the virus to go out. Yes. What do you think, guys? That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Oh, no,
guys.
I think it's right. What we're living today is pretty much is an example of what it could be the next 100 years. In the next 200 years, the human population is going to be suffering from one pandemic to the next pandemic and so on until we are, two things could happen, until we are wiped out or until we change. So I guess the cheapest way will be protect the forest that is standing today and start restoring it and start the change, because the change is not going to happen in 1 or 2 or 3 generations. What we need is a lot of generations to start going backwards, trying to go back and save as much forest as we can. So if we are still relying on the idea that we are now everyone trapped in our houses, that we are waiting for a vaccine that will come and help us, that is kind of thinking one way. But the thing is that what happens if we don't find the vaccine? And that's kind of going for the, how you say, wishful thinking that it could happen. But we also have to think that this could go on and on and on. So we better start rethinking again that the way that we've been developing our economies are not sustainable in the long run. So imagine why we need to go and tear down forests or national areas or natural landscape for wealth, I mean, for accumulation of wealth. What is the meaning of it? So that's not good anymore. So it's been shown that today one flu has everyone in their house, one single flu has everyone in their house trapped without moving, without doing their stuff they like to do and all the things they love to do. So we have to rethink again about what we want in our lives and how we want it. So pandemia is just an example of what it could be our everyday in the future. So we have to be smart enough as the way we have developed technology, smart enough to come out with a new economy that has to be more friendly with the environment and the planet that we live in. So the strategy of protecting all the forest that is standing today is not wrong. It's not a bad idea. It's one of the best ideas to do it because we start doing what it needs to be done.
Yes, yes, and it already happened. Let's say, excellent. It already happened before. If you think about it, the past viruses that we had, we already like HIV, where it came from? Somebody ate like a chimpanzee stew sometime in Africa, and that's where we have HIV. La fiebre, the Spanish fever, also from chicken, and all the viruses. If you think it through, is because we already broken down those nature systems. So, and like Harold Fernando said, they can get worse if we keep on doing this. This won't stop. It will just get worse. And yes, so this is a beautiful service. I can live happily without just having any pandemic. Like okay, awesome. Just no more pandemics. I'm okay living here, safe in my house, but I can live out there doing rock climbing, doing my stuff, everything like that. And we've been doing this for so long. For example, talking about other natural services that we have, we're already almost extinguishing bees. Like maybe
I would
someone
like
says, okay, what about the palm oil forest? Is that okay? Is that going to work? Is that going to give me water? Is that going to give me clean air? Is that going to prevent the pandemics? It's just good palm oil forest. What do you think about that, guys?
Yeah, the whole game on this is we the the economics of it, because we move our world based on the economics, on the old economics values that we have today, but we are overseeing the other values that we are talking in here. Those are not mentioned in the negotiations or in the business development ideas that a country or a region want to develop. So, so today we have reached the maximum capacity of CO2 that is our planet can hold. You know, we are almost the edge of it, and nobody's fucking scared about it. Nobody wants to talk about it, and nobody wants to change about it. You know, everyone is suffering from the COVID-19, right? But nobody wants to change. Everyone is praying to go back to the same lifestyle that we were having, without even understanding that that lifestyle that we had is what it brought us here in the beginning. So nobody wants, I don't see any single government or any development agency say, hey guys, we're in trouble. I think protecting every single tree is our best investment. No one wants to do that. So it's a tough situation where we are now. We want things to be the same. Everyone want to keep doing the same, consuming the same, planning the same. But the truth is that we only have one planet. If we want to do things that in the old days, we might need a couple extra planets to get the resources from, and we don't have it. That is the truth. So we have to restore. We have to start protecting, and we have to think about a different economy that we can do it. I mean, we are able to do it, but basing it on different values again.
Right, because the first reaction of the system, shall we say, it was like, oh, the pandemic, the economy. That was the first reaction, right? It's like, no, this is gonna get worse if we don't change. We cannot go back to the same, like Fernando just said. We cannot go back. We're just gonna, if we go back to the same, the pandemic, another pandemic is gonna come, and it's gonna be worse. Yes. So this is why we need to change, and this is why economy is so important, more important than a pandemic, right? So if the system looks at it this way, how can we put these natural services like an economical value? Are we doing a good job putting an economical value on these natural services?
Oh yeah, there is enough money today for these natural resources service. Yeah, definitely, there is money to protect water. There is money to protect air. There is money to protect biodiversity. There is money to protect all forests. But what is that the money that comes to do those different activities come in a very slow amount, and all that money is pretty well controlled. So politicians don't like that because they want big chunk of money so they can have a huge part of it. That's called corruption.
And it all comes back down to what we've been talking about before and what we're doing right now, what we're trying to do, right? It's education. It's changing these ideas, these concepts, or at least trying to get people to wake up a little bit about our connection with the natural world and the forests and our dependency on it, right? Obviously, yes, so many people, especially, well, nearly all of those that are listening, for example, we living in a town or a city. But around the world, not just talking about tropical forests, but over 300 million people living within the forests, right? This can be temperate forests, it can be the tropical forest, doesn't matter. Over 15 million people working in the forests, And obviously, we're just 3 right here, right? But there are people around the world depending on the forest. And I'm talking about sustainable income from the world's forests. I'm not talking about plantations, for example, okay? So I know that's obviously a very small percentage of all of those that are out there listening, for example. But we have to start somewhere, right? And that's why I mentioned before, for example, those of us that do like going out into the wilds, into the forest, into the natural world, that say we need to get people that we know out there as well. How many people may live in a city? Yes, but on the weekend, or as soon as, for example, we're allowed out again, where do you want to go? You want to go for a walk in the woods. You want to go for a walk along the riverside. You want to go fishing, for example, in the river or lakes nearby. You don't have a healthy lake or a river with fish in it if it's not surrounded by a healthy environment. And forests are the best surrounding for example, your fishing lakes or rivers. Okay, so recreation, for example, is something that we all want to do. Obviously, we forget about it Monday to Friday. Come Saturday or Sunday, we kind of wake up again and, ooh, we want to get out into the natural world. We need to think about the impacts of our Monday to Friday lives and the impact that they're having, let's say, on our Saturdays and Sundays or summer holidays, right? It's, again, it all comes down to this connection, thinking about what everything is dependent on and what we are.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Yeah, that's so true. So yes, guys, sadly, we're running out of time again. So in conclusion, you destroy a forest, you destroy nature, you destroy yourself. As simple as that. Yes, in conclusion. So we are going to try to release a talk like this about trying to spread environmental awareness every Sunday. So stick with us, guys. Every subject is going to be very interesting, very controversial. So stay with us. I thank a lot you guys for being here, Harold Fernando and Daniel Hicks, Harold Fernando Baca. You guys, awesome. It's always good to have you here, guys. It's excellent. Thank you so much.
Great to be here, man. Great to share some of the knowledge, and hopefully people get something out of this and change their life and help nature to recover and come back again.
That's right.
Indeed, guys. Thank you again. If any of our viewers would like to, maybe you have a questions, comment below, or maybe you want maybe a subject that we just talked about, you want to, maybe we talk about it deeper, or maybe you want to join one of these talks and you know about it, just comment below. And these talks help us to spread this environmental awareness. And to do so, just share this video to your friends if you like it. And if you don't like it, share it to your enemies, okay? Your enemies also need to know these things, okay? So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And till next time.